Do cats go to heaven? For anyone who's ever loved and lost a pet, this is not a silly question at all. It's a question that comes from really deep in the heart, right? It's all tangled up in grief and love and our biggest hopes for what comes next. So today, we're going to open up the scriptures and see what they have to say about our animal friends. All right, let's just jump right in. The first thing we've got to get out of the way is that the Bible doesn't have a verse that says, yep, your cat Fluffy is going to be waiting for you at the pearly gates. It doesn't give us that super direct personal answer. But, and listen, this is a huge but, it is absolutely packed with powerful promises and big picture ideas that give us a really strong reason to be hopeful. It paints this incredible picture of God's love for everything he made, and you better believe that picture includes the animals. So to really get to the heart of this, we kind of have to zoom out for a second. Let's pull back from our own personal feelings and look at the much, much bigger story. See, this isn't just about whether our specific cat or dog will be in heaven. It's really about God's amazing plan for everything he created. And that plan isn't just about salvation for people. It's about a complete and glorious restoration for all of creation. And that brings us to a really key idea, the difference between salvation and restoration. They're not the same thing. See, salvation, the way the Bible talks about it, that's for humans. We're made in God's image, we know right from wrong, we mess up, we sin, and because of that, we need a savior, Jesus, to make things right with God. But animals, they don't have that same moral baggage. I mean, your cat doesn't commit sins, right? So it doesn't need salvation. What it is part of, though, is God's bigger plan for restoration. His promise to fix and renew the entire world that got broken when we fell. Okay, let's build on that. What does the Bible actually say an animal is? I mean, are they just little biological robots running on instinct? Or is there something more going on inside them? Well, the answer is tucked away in this really fascinating Hebrew term from the book of Genesis. The term is Nephesh, and it basically means a living creature, or a bit more beautifully, the breath of life. Now here's the kicker. This is the really cool part. In Genesis, God gives this Nephesh not just to us humans, but to the animals too. The beasts, the birds, everything. What this shows us is that in God's eyes, animals have this divinely given life force. They have what's called a nephesh, which means they have a consciousness, they have emotions, a will, they have a real life that matters to the one who made them. So this table really helps break it down. Humans, we're unique, right? We're made in the imago Dei, the image of God. We have an immortal spirit that can connect with him. Now, animals, they have that precious nephesh, that life force, but they were created according to their kinds. They live, they feel, they experience things, for sure, but they're not wrestling with moral dilemmas or needing to be saved from sin. And getting this difference is so, so important. It lets us hold on to the unique role of humanity without, and this is key, without diminishing the incredible value God places on his animal creations. Okay, so if animals don't need to be saved, but God really values them, what proof do we have that they'll be in the new world? Well, the Bible actually gives us 3 super powerful arguments that all point to a future that is definitely not empty of animals. All right, let's go through them. First up, we've got Romans chapter 8. The Apostle Paul uses this incredible image of all of creation groaning, like it's in pain, waiting for something, waiting to be liberated from its bondage to decay. That's not just pretty words, folks. That is a solid promise that the entire natural world will be renewed. Then, point 2, you have the prophet Isaiah. He paints this jaw-dropping picture of the new earth where the wolf and the lamb are buddies and a leopard is chilling with a goat. I mean, come on. Why would the Bible give us these specific, beautiful pictures of animals in perfect harmony if animals weren't going to be there? It wouldn't make any sense. And finally, number 3, just think about Noah's Ark for a second. After the flood, God makes this unbreakable promise, this covenant. And who does he make it with? Not just Noah. He makes it with every living creature on earth. From the very beginning, animals have been part of God's big story. And you know what? We're not the first people to ask this question. Not by a long shot. Some of the greatest thinkers in Christian history have thought long and hard about this, and they came to some really beautiful, hopeful conclusions. Let's see what a couple of them had to say. First up, C.S. Lewis, the genius behind the Chronicles of Narnia. He had this really beautiful thought. He basically suggested that our pets, because of that deep bond of love they have with us, they kind of become part of our story. So when we are redeemed and resurrected, it's possible that their lives are sort of rolled up into ours and they come into eternity right alongside us. It's like a resurrection through relationship. Isn't that a beautiful idea? Then you've got John Wesley, the guy who started Methodism. He came at it from a different angle. He focused on God's justice. He argued that, look, animals suffer in this broken world, right? They experience pain and fear, all because of human sin, that they had absolutely nothing to do with. So Wesley believed that a just and loving God would absolutely make that right. He would compensate them for that suffering by restoring them to a place that's even better than anything they knew on earth. Now, to be fair and balanced, we should talk about the more traditional view from someone like Thomas Aquinas. He argued, mostly from a philosophical standpoint, that an animate soul was tied to its body. So when the body died, that was it. The soul just ceased to exist. But, and this is a really important distinction, that's a philosophical argument about the nature of a soul. It doesn't really cancel out the clear promises we see right there in the Bible about God's plan to physically restore his entire creation, a creation that, let's be honest, has always been full of animals. So we've looked at the Bible, we've looked at what the big thinkers said, but let's be real. At the end of the day, this question isn't an academic one. It's a heart question, and the fear behind it is so personal. It's, can heaven really be heaven if my best friend isn't there? That's really the bottom line, isn't it? That's the raw fear. That even in a perfect place, there'd be this empty space in your heart that's shaped just like the friend you lost. It just feels impossible, right? How can you be perfectly happy if a piece of your heart is missing? And this, right here, is where we find our deepest comfort. The Bible makes a promise about heaven that is absolute. It's unbreakable. In Revelation, it says that God himself will wipe every tear from our eyes. And there will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain. Think about that. The very possibility of feeling sad or feeling loss will be gone, forever. That's the rock we can stand on. And here's why that promise is even possible. See, our ultimate joy in heaven isn't going to come from just getting all our favorite earthly things back. It's going to come from being in the full, glorious, all-satisfying presence of God himself. And his presence is so complete, so perfect, that it will fill every single corner of our hearts and expand our ability to feel joy in ways we can't even fathom right now. Any emptiness we might worry about now, it will be completely and perfectly filled by him. We just have to trust that his plan for our happiness is better than anything we could plan for ourselves. So, in the end, does the Bible give us a simple one-word yes? No. But it gives us something so much better. It gives us a deep, solid, biblical hope. Hope in a good and loving Creator who truly cherishes every single thing he's made. A God who promises not to throw his creation away, but to restore it. Now, thinking about this, it doesn't just magically erase the pain of losing a friend. Of course not. But maybe it can help reframe it. Maybe it lets us remember them not just with the sadness of them being gone, but with so much gratitude for the time we had, and with a real hope in the God who holds all of his creation, every person, every cat, every creature, safely in the palm of his hand.